Long-term clients don't leave suddenly. They leave slowly. And while you're not even paying attention, that's when it starts happening. And nobody warns you that this is a thing because nobody's checking. They're like, oh gosh, they're gone. Yeah. So let's talk about it in today's video. Because think about every employed person you know has appraisals, have like they have review meetings, they have one-to-one. They have some sort of way that they're checking in on them. Performance conversation happening. Someone is sitting across or beside them and saying things like, how's the work going? What's going on? What support do you need? How are things flowing? Is everything aligned? Do you feel like you're supported? Like those conversations are happening. There is always a system in those kind of company, like something, there's always a check. There's always someone whose job it is to make sure that the employed person, the relationship is still working, that there's things happening. But when it comes to us as freelancers, especially freelance interpreters, nobody does that for you. Nobody sits you down and say, okay, is that place still working for you? Is everything flowing for you? No one is gonna do that. And you are still showing up fully. You're still doing a thing. Does the client still need what you are providing? Nobody's asking. How you are providing, is anybody checking? So the relationship can start drifting in silence and you not even realize it until one day that it doesn't. And be like, oh, been working with them for years, and all of a sudden, we wonder. And I've learned this the hard way. Yes, years I was working with the same client, doing my thing. We had an understanding. We had a great working relationship. We had an agreement about how things worked, how they wanted me, and it felt solid. We felt like we got this. It actually felt permanent because of like how it was. And then I got comfortable. I stopped showing up as fully as I once did. And I was still there physically, right? But I started doing my own thing in the background, which was allowed. However, it was just more, I was doing my own training, my own learning. I was still doing my own stuff in the gap that I wasn't needed, which fine. And I told myself, yeah, it's fine because yeah, we're cool, right? Because we've had history and because we've kind of like said, okay, I don't really need like, and I knew like how things rolled when I'm needed and stuff like that. But in my guts, I was ready, my guts was already telling me something different. That quiet feeling of something is shifting here, they're changing. And I still dismissed it. Every single time that came up. It's all right. Kind of like that. So what happened then? The day came, one day came. They looked at me and said, on the way, when I was on the way home, oh, I'll see you tomorrow. So I smiled back and like, yeah, so you like whatever the pleasantry we say. On my way, got on a train home, and then I started getting this buzzing. My phone was still on vibrate. I was getting this buzzing notification from the portal that I use with this agency that I worked for, and I opened it up and I just started watching a job starting to disappear, one after the other, like silent notification coming through my phone. No messages, just like, what's going on? Like, is the app down? No explanation. And then I opened it up. All I saw was cancel, cancel, cancellation, cancellation, cancel, 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 like that. Cancelled. Flying through my phone. I'm like, is this app broken? Like, what's the deal here? Remember, she said, see you tomorrow. They said. So I called the agency up and said, okay, what's up? And then they told me over the phone. And then the next thing they sent me this official confirmation afterwards that that's it. And this is Christmas period, right? The job's gone overnight. The knock-on effect was real. And I was sitting there thinking, okay, right. She just said, see you tomorrow. Okay. And two things were actually true at the same time in that scenario for me. The way they handled it, the ending, they handled it badly, right? They could have said something, said it to my face, like, look, this is not working anymore. I just need a change, or whatever that is. They would have said something. Even if, and this is the thing, I gave an opening. And I said, like, if, tell me if there's anything that is not working. It's like, let me know, like, whatever, like, blah, blah, blah. And still, we couldn't do it directly. That stung. That was painful. That was like, oh my goodness. And I had already stopped showing up fully. Okay. And my gut was already telling me that something was shifting. And I just chose to not look at it. So both things were real for us. And neither cancels the other, right? We're both kind of like in the wrong here. But here's what I want every freelance interpreters to hear. When you are employed, the system protects you from surprises, right? Appraisals exist so that you know where you stand. Review is there to show what the small problems can get addressed before they become endings, right? But as a freelancer, there is no system. Nobody engineers the conversation for you. So what that means is, if you are not doing that for yourself, you are one silent drift away from watching your livelihood disappear from the portal, from your booking system, whatever that is, or on the train home at Christmas. And it is not soft. This is your income. This is your livelihood. This is your business. A freelancer is a business. And it deserves the same level of professional attention as any employed person gets automatically. We really need to think about those things as well, because you're on your own. So now, if I'm ever now working with someone regularly, I check in. Simple, honest, professional. The three questions I always dance around that I would like to share, that you can start adapting and figuring out how you can work that in. And so the three questions you could ask: is this arrangement, is this still working for you? Is the dynamics, how things are flowing, is that fine for you? Next question: is there anything you need differently from now on from what we've agreed from when we started working together? Like, what's that? Are we still in aligned on how we work together? Is this working for you? Is this flowing? That's it. Like, questions like that, just to check in, just to know. We don't need a big conversation like how they normally would do it, like a formal meeting room, just a regular check-in, just to make sure. Because that check-in does two things. When we start having them regularly, it gives the client permission to tell you the truth. Like, man, I don't like how, like, whatever that is, before the portal tells you as it is, right? And it keeps you honest, right? It stops you from getting so comfortable thinking, oh, man, this is on the back. This is my thing. I got this look like. So it also checks you in, like, okay, like you're too comfortable now. You're crossing, like, whatever that is, right? And sometimes, because we just forget to show up, and you just think like, oh yeah, I'm part of the furniture now, or I'm like, this is how things are. We do not lose clients. You know what? We lose the habit of checking in. And every ending that feels suddenly usually had a quiet there was conversation that never happened, where somewhere behind it. So we engineer this conversation before someone else engineers our exit. And then we're left in this limbo thinking, what's the deal? What the heck? Because this is the thing, people change. Their needs change. how season change. All these things change, and it's not a failure. It's just life. Like interest change. You might like one thing, the next thing you change, and like you start liking something else. You might be into so when we know this early, when we know what's going on, and when we start beginning to have all this conversation, we get to be prepared. We get to whatever it needs adjusting, we start adjusting. Like whatever needs to move forward, or we just move with dignity, with like whatever that is. So instead of just being thrown out in like cold turkey with no warning and like, okay, see you tomorrow, which never is, and no time to catch yourself, you are a freelancer. Nobody is going to build safety nets for you. So you get to build it for yourself. And that starts with asking those three questions. You can apply, do whatever that, add what would suit you, but start having check-ins, especially when you're having regular clients. And if this lands for you, the identity research for interpreter is open. The link will be in the description box. And yeah, we get to do this again tomorrow. I am Nene, and we do this every single day. Remember that your voice matters, and it's your time to use it. Bye for now.